Welcome to another episode of Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World. It's a place where we like to spend time talking about all things travel and how travel can be part of your lifestyle. Whether you're hanging out at home or you've got boarding passes in your hands, travel influences us every single day in tons of ways. My name is Alex. I play the Babcia role, and I am a mom of 3 grade adults, an elementary school teacher, and an overseas traveler. I love to blog. You can find me over at www.tgctravel.com, and I'm an overall travel junkie.
Hello, guys. This is Terri. I'm Yia Yia, and I'm also a mom. I have 2 wonderful adult children. I'm a teacher, and right now I'm a U.S. traveler, getting excited about spreading my wings and being a European traveler again. Today we're going to share some of the things that keep us travel happy when we are not out and about. We're going to talk about books, food, travel tips, and products that we love. And it's all going to start with a little segment we like to call Now Boarding.
Today in Now Boarding, we love to talk all things Disney because that's what our whole show is about today. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff that makes Disney a traveler's dream. Some of the experiences that we've had and some of the experiences we wish we didn't have. Now, we know, we're very aware, Babcia and Yia Yia know, that there are so many people, there are bazillions of people who are Disney experts out there. And we're going to focus today just on Walt Disney World in Florida. But we do know that there are people like the Disney Unplugged podcast. We'll give a shout out to them. These are people that have all the update information on what's going on in the Disney theme parks and how all of that works. And there's some great blogs out there, including Disney Tours and allears.net, which is kind of like a clearinghouse for a lot of information. The other one that we know about is the disneytip.com kind of update information. So our show is not going to be about the latest and the greatest, just kind of a traveler's perspective at what it's like to go to the biggest theme park in the world. So let's dig in. Let's talk about some of the things that make Disney so great. And we'll start with a couple of books that have inspired us along the way. Terri, what are you reading or what have you read that kind of is like, I have to get myself back to Disney World?
I know. Well, I kind of consider myself an unofficial expert on Disney just because my years of experience going. I was there when the great doors opened in 1971. So I like to call myself like a unofficial official. But books that I've been reading, I use in my classroom. It's a series of books called Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson. And what's so great about these is there's like mystery, where you're like solving a mystery, but it's occurring inside each theme park. So there's one for the Magic Kingdom. There's one for Epcot. There's one for Animal Kingdom. There's one for the Magic Kingdom. So what's so cool about this is that we've actually read this series of books and then took our kids on a field trip there. So
kids as in your students?
Yes. And my personal kids went too. It's just cool. So it's a great series to check out. What about you? What when you think of Disney books, what comes to mind?
Okay. I will say this before I give my pick. I do not have the same breadth of experience that you do. You are definitely a Disney expert, an official one, not an unofficial one.
Well, thank you.
You are. And you go with every age and stage you've gone throughout the years. You kind of keep current with the whole park, which is kind of a different kind of traveler to Disney than, say, me, who I went as a kid. I went on my honeymoon there, actually. And I did. And I also went with my kids when they were younger, and we left the country. So when my kids were in elementary school, so I did not have the same kind of Florida experience, but your geographical location of being located in Florida makes it easier. How long does it take you to get to Disney when you go?
When I go, I'm about a 2.5 hour drive, depends on the traffic, or when they're doing, you know, construction on 95 and I-4, it can be a nightmare. But we've found different routes to go, so about 2.5 hours, not a bad day trip for us.
Yeah, you can make it a long day trip. So that being said, the fact that I am certainly not current in any way, and I look at Disney more maybe in a nostalgic way. My book pick this week, I have three. The first one are ones that I use in my classroom because I do an escape room with them, and they are Who Was Walt Disney and Where is Walt Disney World? And they're by those bobblehead biography group, and we have the links below for all of
Those are
them.
great books. Great
They are
books.
great, and I love them. And I did escape rooms with them this year where the kids like had to find their way out of the Magic Kingdom, like all kinds of really cool stuff with those books.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, but personally, um, the book that I most recently read in regards to Walt Disney World was Mary Poppins She Wrote, which came out right around the same time that my travel binge pick, Saving Mr. Banks, came out. I read it about the same time that I saw that movie. I am the biggest Mary Poppins fan. I adore the entire thing from start to finish, from the Disney-fied version to the original P.L. Travers version. I am the biggest fan
I
of
wanted her to
all
be
of
my
that.
nanny.
No joke, she was so fabulous.
Yeah, I know.
So thinking about how you are a far more modern visitor to Walt Disney World. Tell me, what are some of the other tips and products and things that you would use when you think about um, Walt Disney World?
Okay, so these are just a few of the things that I would consider. I probably have a vast list of things as I'm getting ready to go when I think about it. But let's talk about travel tips first. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
Disney. What's so cool is all these rides that you want to hit, that they're the big rides that have the huge wait lines. Well, in the past, and as of right now, Disney's kind of in a debacle with all this pandemic going on. Highly recommend getting fast passes for those hard to get rides that you have the long waits for.
Mm-hmm.
Second, let's say you go and you can't get any fast pass, but you want to ride Space Mountain. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
need to probably sacrifice watching the parade, because that's the time when the people are watching the parade. You can probably scoot into those rides and get a shorter wait time if you're not dying to see a parade at that moment. That would be an
And
awesome, great time to do it.
And quite frankly, that was the old school tip. That's the pre-fast pass tip that was out there for ages before Disney kind of became this whole digital app driven entity that it is now. The way to get on Space Mountain to walk on was to go to Space Mountain 20 minutes before the parade, because the line would probably be only about 15 minutes long. You were in, you were out, and you could run across the park to the Runaway Railroad
Yeah.
and get on that. Like those were things that were done back in the day. So it's funny that that tip is still kind of stood the test of time in a
Right.
way.
So if you think about it, we have the digital fast passes. Before, you would go and you'd have to go up to a kiosk and they'd print out the ticket for you. And then before that, we didn't have anything. And at the beginning of Disney, you had those ticket books you had to buy to give tickets to the rides you wanted to do. But anyway, let's
Mhm.
get back to some of the more travel tips. Definitely, if you have children, I highly encourage renting a stroller at Disney. One, they're spacious, they're bigger, have a lot of area. If you don't want to rent a stroller, please bring an umbrella stroller that you can fold up easily while you're getting on the transportation system to come back, because it's nothing more hilarious. We've all been there. I've been there, trying to load up on the tram with the stroller, trying to get it folded up, get the kids in, all while they're asking you to close the door. We're going to start moving. So that's one of the big tips. Another, bring a portable fan. For those of us who are not really used to this humidity and heat in Florida, bring you a fan. I just bought a great fan that is, I plug it in USB and it charges. Pocket size, it is great. Good for the kids to keep cool, good for you to keep cool, and it is really hot. My last tip that I really
Wait,
want to
hold on.
oh, go
I
ahead.
want
Go.
everybody to save that tip, and I want you to, after you visit Walt Disney World, save that tip, put that fan in your pocket, and save it for when you go to the Acropolis in Athens, because I have the same tip for the Acropolis in Athens. So I would definitely save that because you need it in the heat of the summer. Yeah, and that
Yes.
fan is important 9 months out of the year in Florida. I would not, if you're not used to Florida, I would not think that in March you don't need that fan. You probably need it. You
Okay.
probably need it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got several more tips to go.
Good.
For us here, best thing to do is I like to hit the park early. If you're staying in a resort that's on property, they have extra magic hours where you can get in early in the morning. I like to
Mm-hmm.
hit it running in the morning. When noontime comes around, I like to head back to the hotel, have some lunch, take a swim, and then with the heat of the day, I'm relaxing, and then I head back in at night to see everything else when it's not so hot. So you kind of can beat that heat. So, with that saying, make sure you bring a water bottle. Check that on your list. You must stay hydrated. Oh my gosh, you not believe how many people get sick because they do not stay hydrated. You got
I
to keep
believe
the
it.
water in. Let's say you don't, you're not feeling too well. Make sure you know where the first aid stations are at Disney because they are fabulous.
They
They're the
are.
Oh, you go in, there's a nurse on staff, they have a doctor. I mean, it's everything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous. Last thing, I could keep going and rambling about Disney, on what you need to prepare for. Make sure you have a great backpack. That's my
Mm-hmm.
product because you're going to be putting your water bottle, you're going to need your sunscreen, you're going to want to put maybe a poncho because you are in Florida, it will rain, and everything is nice and secure in your backpack, one place, and you have your hands free. If you have young kids with you, or if you don't, you know, everything is nice and neat, and your hands are free, and you're ready to go.
And I will say this, when I lived on the East Coast in Florida in the summer, it rains every day between 4 and 4:30. Like it's a half an hour
Guaranteed.
shower. It is what it is. I mean, it's just what's going to happen. And that means that Orlando probably gets hit with that front, I would say about 3 to 3:30, about an hour ahead of time of that. So I would like have that expectation. I would time it and I would just keep an eye on the sky, and you'll know when to get into maybe a ride that has better coverage. Or it's an indoor attraction, like the Country Bears Jamboree, or something that where 3 to 3:30 I'm probably going to have to find cover, or go enjoy the shops on Main Street or something. Just be prepared for the fact that, especially in the summer, it's going to
Yes.
happen.
And a
It's
great
going to
ride
happen.
to jump on when it's raining is Carousel of Progress in the Magic Kingdom.
No joke.
It was a show that Disney presented at the World Fair. So awesome. Go in, have a seat, watch the show, let the rain go.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. The other one that we used to do, and I don't know if it's the same, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are in Hollywood Studios, a really good one to catch during the rain is the Muppet Show.
Yes, 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 yes. It's still
Because
there.
you're in a theater, and I want to say it's like 45 minutes long. Like it's a good length, and it kind of, there are times I've been in that theater and I've heard the rain on the roof of the studio, and it, we were like, "Yep, I'm so glad we're in these seats, nice and dry." And we would walk out, everything would be soaking wet, but we would be dry. So that's a good one for Hollywood studios, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, tell me, what is your favorite treat when you're at Disney? And there is a lot of controversy about what is the favorite thing. I think I know what you're going to say. I think I agree with you.
Oh, my food treat? Okay.
Hmm.
When we go to Disney, there's probably 4 to 5 things that we know we have to have. Number 1, when you're in the Magic Kingdom, you need to take yourself over to Adventureland and you need to have a Dole Whip. It is delicious pineapple ice cream sherbet, and you can get it in a float, which has, I do the mixture of pineapple and vanilla, and it's floating in pineapple juice. It's
Hmm.
delicious, especially on a hot, hot day. Number 2, you're at Disney, whether you're at Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, you need to get the iconic Mickey Mouse ice cream. Everyone's
That's
seen
my
pictures of
favorite.
people eating the Mickey Mouse. You got to have that.
Hmm.
If you happen to be in the Magic Kingdom and you're hungry, and I know they also serve them in Animal Kingdom, is a big old turkey leg. And when I say a turkey leg,
It is.
I would hate to see the size of these turkeys.
It makes you wonder.
But I think it could feed a family of 4. It's huge.
Yeah.
And then our special treat that we always get, my daughter and I, it's like a special thing in some of the fresh stands that they sell fruit and juice and all. They have these pickles, prepackaged pickles
Mhm.
in ice. And I want to know, I don't know if it's because it's at Disney, but they're the best pickles of your life. It's like
And
almost a religious experience having them.
yeah, I remember those pickles from the Germany pavilion in Epcot, and if I remember correctly, they are like the crispiest,
Oh, yes.
iciest pickles. Like, you don't think of a pickle as something refreshing.
Mm,
Yeah, Tinkerbell waved her wand, Disney magic, refreshing, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, tell me what we talked about this in pre-production, and we talked about what should we say for travel tech? And really, honestly, I think for any traveler, there's only one way to approach a trip to Disney now, and that's through the Disney My Experience app.
Oh,
So
by far.
I have never used it because I haven't been there since they've had the app. So I have not used it at all. Tell me what you think.
Oh, it's great. You download this app, it will have your tickets on there, your fast passes, you can make all your dinner reservations. And now when you're in the park, you can say, "Hey, I'm hungry, it's lunch. Let me go ahead and order my food from one of the counter service restaurants." You can order your food from the app, pay for it. When you go in, it's ready for you to pick up, so you don't have to wait in line and order. So those are great. It tells you the wait times on the rides, and they're pretty accurate. So if you're looking and you're like, "I really want to go ride Slinky Dog, but it's a 130-minute wait time," it's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. So it helps you a lot with that. That is my biggest thing. If you're going to Disney, have the My Experience so you can take advantage of restaurant reservations, fast passes, ordering food, wait times. It's all there in one app.
And and they also connect to the magic bands, am I right? The
Yes.
bracelets that everybody wears? Yeah, because
Yes.
that's kind of everything now, isn't it? I feel like whether you have somebody plan your trip for you, which is an option, there are
Mhm.
great travel agents who are Disney experts who will literally set up everything for you. But regardless of whether or not you do that or you do it on your own, however you choose to do that, you still have to um know how to use the My Experience app and know how to use the Magic Bands because they're hotel room keys and like they're all kinds of different things,
Right.
and they're also how you pay for things,
You
right?
can attach your credit card to the Magic Band. However, I didn't do that just because I have people in my family that would just go spending crazy. Oh, I want a drink, and they're not thinking about the cost of it and just swiping their
Mhm.
band. But yes, you can
Yeah.
have your hotel on there, your tickets are on there. You can put your credit card on there so you're paying for it as well. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I'm sure, like, they picked that up as they got into the cruise business because that's a very cruise-like thing, like, your cabin key on a cruise, you swipe it to charge at the bar or to charge in the gift shop or to get on and off the ship, like, they use it for absolutely everything. So, I mean, it sounds to me like it's a great idea, and it sounds to me like you have a lot of options to make yourself
if you
comfortable.
think about it right now, when we want to do as little cross contamination as possible, so you're not
Mhm,
having to pass back and forth a credit card or cash. So it
mhm.
kind of helps with that touchless
Oh, that's true.
society we have going
Yeah.
on right now.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So definitely, like, you have to know how that system works in order to get the most out of it, I would think.
Yes,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure.
Thanks for joining us today on the Babcia and Yia Travel the World show. Today we're talking about all things Disney with who I think is this is my personal choice of the Disney expert extraordinaire, and that is Yia herself, Terri. Terri, you've been going to Disney since it opened, Disney World. We're limiting our talk to Disney World today. You went in 1971 when it opened. What was that like?
Well, I don't want to age myself, so I'm going to say, I was an infant at that time. I don't really recall much, but I know that I
Mhm.
was there. But
Fair enough.
yeah, yeah. So it's like I don't really remember, but I know it was probably pretty cool. What about you? When was your first trip?
I probably went when I want to say maybe 8 or 9 years old. Whenever Epcot Center opened is when I
Okay.
went. Okay,
Okay.
because it was the first year that Epcot Center was open.
Okay.
And my father had already been to Epcot Center when it was being built. He consulted with Western Union on the communications of the place, how they were setting up the infrastructure for the
Oh, wow.
communications. So he had like this story about this incredible thing they were doing down in Florida. And I really didn't know. I was kind of young. So it was really neat. And then my mom, um, I want to say kind of like bid on tickets at a charity function or something like that. We wound up going to Disney World for a little while. It was just her, my sister, and I, and we had such a nice time. And I remember being suitably impressed by the Magic Kingdom. Like, yes, this is amazing, and the jungle cruise and the castle and Space Mountain, and they were all fun. But I remember being overwhelmingly impressed by uh the World Showcase at Epcot Center. Like, to me, that's what I remember as like, wow, that stuff was amazing to me. I was a real Epcot Center junkie from the very beginning. And I still I took my adult kids to see Disney because they hadn't had a chance to do that as kids. And we went to Epcot Center even when the whole front was kind of being refurbished, like it still
Mhm.
is right now. And I was like, we just have to go to the World Showcase. It's going to be so great. So we went, we
It
had a really great
is.
time. Yeah, yeah, it is. I think it's like a very unique concept that's so old school that people don't realize how cool it could have been in the past. The whole idea of the World's Fair, that whole concept.
Right.
And I think that they're so like, it was such a great idea, and I love to see it continuing to grow. Like, it's been neat to watch it over the years.
You know what's really cool about when you go to Epcot and you go to the World Showcase? When you go and you see the people that are working there, if you look at their name tags, it tells you where they're from in that country.
Right,
So it
because
makes it really real.
yeah, and that was a program that was started at the very beginning. Like, that was part of the deal because that came out of the idea of the World's Fair, which is exactly what would happen in the World's Fair. So, like, it is nice to see some of those real Walt Disney concepts, like through lines, still in
Mhm.
effect, as much as things change and all that kind of stuff. It's nice to see that. And I do remember eating at the time the very exotic Moroccan pavilion with belly
Oh,
dancers. I
yep,
was like, wow, this is
they're
amazing.
still
And the food
there.
is good. Yeah. Oh, well, I hope it's not the same ones.
Well, now, let me say this. They look good. They look real good. Now, I will say the best thing about going to the World Showcase is you may want to choose like a restaurant, make a reservation, and go eat at that country. But
hmm
now they also have little counter service where you can get the same style food, but smaller a portion. So you kind of can sample around the world. And I'm going to tell you, England, the fish and chips are
Mm.
great. And there
So
is a,
wait a second. Wait a second. It's like Disney style tapas?
yeah,
What? I had
yes.
I had no idea. Okay. You may convince me to go back.
You can
You
have
may
drinks and tapas at Epcot. The only park that does not serve any alcoholic beverages, wah wah, is the Magic Kingdom. And let me tell you, there's a steakhouse in Canada.
Mhm.
It is delicious. Casey took me there for Mother's Day.
Mhm.
We were sitting there and we ordered our steaks, and we see this lady bringing out this tower that had like steaks and vegetables and potatoes. It's all in a tower. And of course, it's coming to our table. We were so miserable after that. Ugh. But Epcot is
Yeah.
great to experience the different cultures and food and sample, especially during this time when we can't go anywhere.
There's only one thing that frustrates me about the Epcot experience. And this is the traveler in me. I do not think that Walt Disney World's World Showcase is a substitute for actual travel within the world. Like,
No,
it is not in any way, shape, or form um, a good enough substitute for what you would really, truly, truly see.
true. But for those people who may not be able to afford a trip to Japan,
hmm
it would be a great way to just experience some of the food and the culture.
It's cultural tapas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it is great to go. And I will tell you, like, my kids lived in Japan. So when we got to the Japan pavilion, they beelined it for the store. There's like almost a department store there.
Uh-huh.
It's smaller than that, but it's a very big store. And my kids like bought all the candy.
Yeah.
And they were so happy with all of the candy. And it was just like they were back where they loved, and they missed Japan a lot. So it is neat to see that. What do you think, oh Disney expert, is the best age to go?
I say break them in young. But
Mhm.
now, if you have the opportunity to go without kids, that's great. But if you don't, there is something for all ages. Even if you take infants, I mean, they can't do much, but sometimes you can't avoid it. It's very I'm trying to think of the word. I've kind of just lost my thoughts here, but it's kind of for everyone.
Mhm.
So I say break them in young, take them young. I took mine young. and get them accustomed to going and doing, and especially break that habit of shopping, and they have to have something in the
Mm-hmm.
stores, because Disney or any theme park is so great about selling merchandise. So I always find it great if I can break them in young doing it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
best.
Okay, I agree with you, but I'd like to quantify what young is.
Okay, go.
Okay, um, I I made the mistake of I have three children. They're very close together in age.
Hmm.
They're literally, they call them Irish triplets. And I went with my kids because my mother thought she would surprise us. It was a lovely thought, with a trip to Disney World, and all three of my kids were in diapers. One had was still with a bottle. Um, I If you have to change a diaper in Disney World, oh my gosh. Like, I just I it's a lot of work, and I don't look back on that particular trip very fondly.
I can agree.
Conversely, I took them about maybe 3 years after that. 3 years after that. So, I wanna say they were probably 4, 5, and 6 by this time. Okay.
Okay.
I was completely out of diapers. I was completely out of, any kind of specialized food. Everybody ate what was put in front of them. I didn't raise picky eaters, so I'm very lucky with that. And we went, and I remember literally after the trauma of the first trip, I remember literally breaking down in line at the Jungle Cruise that I wasn't pushing a stroller. I wasn't, like, I can't even tell you. I remember sobbing, waiting for the Jungle Cruise, and my kids were like, "Mom, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "It's just so wonderful to be here without all of these things," because it was that traumatic on me, the mom. And I'm sure my kids don't remember it, and they really probably had fun, I'm sure. But I just remember, like, what it took for me to make that happen, and I felt like I was doing it far more for the grandparents involved than I was for the kids involved,
And
which.
that's understandable, but I will say this, they now have family bathrooms, so it
Mhm,
makes it a lot easier, and they do have the ride swap, so if you happen to have a small child that doesn't meet the qualifications
mhm.
to go on a ride, you can ride swap, so you don't have to wait in that long line twice. You're able to switch partners, so that's something good, but I've been with all ages, so.
Mhm. Yeah,
A
the only
and
other.
I feel for you, because I feel like you were one of those families I might have been watching.
Yes, I will guarantee that I probably was one of those families you were watching. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a horrible experience. And again, I've had great Disney experiences before and after that. That just particularly was traumatic. And I will say I feel like they do a very good job of trying to address this. The only other age that I would not take is the attitude age, and that could be from 5 to 50. If there's a chip on somebody's shoulder, I'm not taking you to the happiest place on earth just to be annoyed by your attitude. Like, it's not going to happen. So
Exactly.
if your middle schooler is going through that I will wear all black because it annoys you, mom stage, well, then I'm not taking you to Disney World. I just wouldn't go and spend all that money to convince somebody to kind of get along with you when their only goal on earth right now is to show you how different they are than everybody else on the planet. Like, kids go through that at a different age and stage all the time, and like, there's no way I will do it, because there are temper tantrums at Disney, and you just want to avoid them if you can,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. I
For
will
sure.
say this, there's a lot, a lot of walking to do at Disney, so please take that into account. I was down in Orlando and my son was wrestling at the Wide World of Sports in the AAU
Hmm.
Scholastic Duels. So he wrestled probably 15 matches over 2 or 3 days. And I thought, what a great way to celebrate. Let's go to Disney.
Hmm.
He wasn't grumpy, but I could tell the kid was so tired and his legs and his body hurt so bad that the
Hmm.
walking was just tough. So make sure you're aware, wear your sneakers because there's a lot of walking.
Yeah, and I also think you've got a very good point there. We talk all the time when we're talking about just travel in general about being prepared for the walking and having the right shoes and never planning like you're not going back. And I think that that is probably the biggest flip the switch moment in the Disney experience. I think that when in early Disney World times, you went, you saw everything that was there, and then you were kind of done. There weren't a ton of changes. There were things added, but not a ton to make like a trip from New Jersey or Colorado or or Texas worth it to go back. Like you had done your Disney trip, you were done, and that was good. I think now you have to take on that modern planner attitude of you're never going to fit everything in. You've got to plan like you're coming back, because there is far more at Disney World than just those four theme parks, and there's so much to do, and there's just no way to fit it in to even probably 2 weeks. I don't think you could do everything that's there. So
No.
you have to plan with the respect that you will come back.
Right. And now, add the water parks in. So you've got
Mhm.
a lot. I think the longest we stayed was probably 2 weeks at Disney, and we
Mhm.
still didn't see everything. And now you have Disney Springs, which is
Mhm.
attached to the old downtown Disney, if any, people remember that, where you could go spend the day at the shops and eating and just kind of relax and see Disney at a different uh aspect. And then now you have downtown Disney, which has a lot of your upscale shops, some of your fancy restaurants. They have an Irish pub there that I hear is pretty good.
Mhm.
And that's a whole day experience. And
Yeah.
you also need a day just to spend at the resort, your hotel, in the pool, relaxing, or you're going to wear yourself out. I mean,
I
there's
think
just so
that's
much.
true. Yeah, and I mean that's another tip that we give. Give yourself a down day kind of in the middle of everything. I think you brought up a very good point about the high-end boutiques and the nice restaurants and the things to do, because I think Disney is marketing to a whole generation of kids that grew up going there as a kid and now they're an adult, there's so much that is now marketed toward um 20s, 30s, 40s and above, that it's not just a kid's place anymore. I feel, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, I feel that if you looked at the demographics of the crowds that are there, the family groups that are there, half of them have kids and the other half are adults.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
have a
it's
lot of
not.
friends that they go just, the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I and so I think it's not the kids' land of the past as much as it is. Yes, there's kids there, but expect that there's a lot of adults, and Disney Springs in my opinion, is completely marketed to that crowd
Yes.
of people. So let's talk about some other things that are not inside the park that are available in the four main parks, that are on the property that are available to do. You mentioned hotels, and I think that's an important thing to bring up.
Yeah, oh, I think it's great. If you're staying on property, it's always cool to go check out the other resorts We used to do that. We'd hop on the monorail and go check out the Polynesian and the Contemporary and the Grand Floridian and just kind of walk around because those are on the monorail.
Hmm.
But now we like to go to the Animal Kingdom Lodge. Not only do you get to walk out and see all the animals, they've got some great food. We always
Hmm.
have breakfast at Boma's, and it's like a breakfast buffet. And I know you're going to say, "Ugh, buffets, right?"
Hmm.
But it is amazing because it has different stations, and you also get food that would be served in Africa for breakfast.
Hmm.
So I think that's kind of cool. It's not so much, I would say, as a buffet, like I think I'm going to Golden Corral, but more like stations.
Okay.
So that's awesome. What if you want to
And
go
it
play
has,
miniature golf? Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it also has the live animals. I mean, the animals
Yeah.
from the attraction are right outside the windows sometimes, especially in the morning, if
Yes.
I'm correct, right? Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, and I think
But you
kind of
think of,
going from hotel to hotel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Christmas is a huge time to go see the decorations at all the different hotels and eat at the different hotels,
yes.
because they're all so unique. But also Halloween is another time when they're kind of decked out like that too. Am
Oh,
I right?
yes. I know
Yeah.
that Disney, I don't think they're doing it this year, but
Mhm.
they always do a not so
The-
scary Halloween party, and it's
mhm.
really cool. They only sell so many tickets, and you go on at night, and they pass out candy, and there's everyone's in costumes, and it's really great. But this year they're not doing it, so that's what I read as of right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and that's confirmed from both Universal and Disney that they're not having their Halloween series the way they normally do. I guess I would call it kind of like a festival, because they both kind of work in tandem. They
Right.
they have the horror nights over at Universal and the not so scary Halloween party at
Because that's what I would
Disney.
do.
Yeah.
Casey would go to the scary, and
Mhm.
Caleb and I would go to the not so scary. So it worked out great. But you
Yeah,
also
yeah.
have like other things that you want to do. Like if you want to play miniature golf,
Mhm.
Blizzard Beach has a really cute miniature golf right outside it. And if you've never been to any of Disney's water parks, Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard Beach, you
Mhm.
definitely need to visit. Blizzard Beach is my favorite. They're so clean.
Mhm.
It's a fun kinda down day, not doing a park, but you're doing something Disney. So that's kinda
Yeah.
nice too.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Blizzard Beach, but I have been to Typhoon Lagoon, and I do have a very quick story about something that happened there. There are magical moments all around the property that
Yes.
you have no idea that you're going to run into them. And this happened to our family at Typhoon Lagoon. I could have sworn we were there in June and we were literally there for overnight, because we had some tickets to use up. We had one day tickets for the for Disney, and I had a day at SeaWorld. And I had to use up the tickets because we were leaving to go to Japan. So I didn't want to leave them outstanding and waste them. So we made this little 3-day trek down to Orlando, and we went to Typhoon Lagoon on the middle day, and it just happened to be my daughter's birthday. And no, I take it back. It was my son's birthday. And I thought Typhoon Lagoon opened at 9 o'clock. It turns out it doesn't. It opens at 10 o'clock. No big deal. Not worried about it. We just waited, whatever amount of time it was. It wasn't a lot. And before the gates opened, some employees came out, or some, what do they call them? Cast members came out,
Yes.
and they saw Megan playing, and they went up to my sweet little girl, and she was, if you knew her at this age too, you would know why they went right to her. She was probably in first grade, and they wanted to make her the big kahuna for the day, which was like this VIP experience at Typhoon Lagoon. Like you could cut every line and you were going to go swim with the sharks, and that you had your own cabana at the wave pool. And like it was this amazing thing that was about to happen. And it just so happened it was because we were there a little early and we didn't know. And she got chosen. And this may be my best sibling story for my kids because they're few and far in between. My daughter turned around and said, "Thank you so much, but it's my brother's birthday and he should be the big kahuna." And she kind of handed the whole thing over to my son. And I will never forget her thinking, like, it's not my turn, it's his turn. And we had such a good time. And they have, to this day, they're adults, they have those medals. They gave them these medals, these big kahuna medals. And I mean, it was the coolest thing. And there was this ceremony with us walking in the morning, and they took us right to the shark tank to go and snorkel with the sand sharks that were there. And it was like the neatest experience. And we had no idea anything like that was going to happen. Who knew?
Who
And
knew?
yeah, it was so much fun. We had such a good time. So I do think that there's a lot outside of the parks that people don't even realize is there, from the hotels to Disney Springs to the water parks and beyond. There's quite a lot. I mean, they were even talking about how the McDonald's is solar powered now there, so kind of all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, I have to tell you, I remember when you came back to school and told me that story. So obviously
Uh-huh.
that's a really awesome memory you have of Disney.
Yes.
I have a couple that I want to
Mm-hmm.
share from my memories of Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start one. I was a teenager. We were living in Texas, but we always came to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, my dad and they purchased this Gold Key package, all
Mm-hmm.
inclusive. Your tickets, your hotel, your food for one price per person.
Mm-hmm.
My dad he's a CPA, so he watches the numbers. Well, his
Mm-hmm.
goal was for Disney not to make any money off us. We had steak and lobster. We rented golf carts. We went horseback riding. We rented boats. And I think I probably gained 20 pounds. But my most recent and favorite memory is when I took my friend's daughter, Trinity, who is, I want to call her my honorary grandchild. She's my special little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I took her to Disney, and we started taking her to Disney. My daughter and I started taking her when she was probably 2 years old. That was our thing. So the first time we took her is the best memory I have of seeing Disney through a child's eyes again. It was amazing. And all she wanted was a Belle princess dress. And at the end of the day, you're hot, you're worn out,
Uh-huh.
and she put that dress on with those light up shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and she went in to see the character, and it was Mickey Mouse or Cinderella, and she told her, she says, "You're beautiful." And she
Oh.
came out to me and she says, "Terri, she said I was beautiful." Right there.
Oh.
Disney, take my money,
Take my money.
anything, because this baby is having the best day of her life. And I really do. Seeing Disney through a child's eyes
Mm-hmm.
is so different than when you go as adults.
Yeah, I
It was
agree.
just
I
that's just
agree.
oh, I still have videos of it because it's just so precious, and it just makes you appreciate everything. All the
Oh,
good in the
that's so
world.
sweet. That
I
is
know, I
really
love my
sweet.
girl.
It is, it's true. I will say this. I think that there are a lot of memories that could be made there. And I know that they show them on TV, but there are Disney weddings that you can have there. And we talked about how sometimes it's all adults. And I did have a fellow teacher at our school get married at Disney, and she told me it was just the most magical experience. They do such a good job, and you can't get married there without a wedding planner. So you have
No.
someone who's going to allow you have to use their wedding planners. And
Mhm.
you um she had a very small wedding, but they did like the night before they did like a pub crawl through the property, and they had someone taking them through the whole thing, and then they went from like hotel to hotel. So they had a really good time with that. And then they did the day of the wedding, they did like a reveal at the castle, and then they went and they got married somewhere else. And then they she is a huge Gaston fan. She just thinks
Okay.
Gaston's the best. And they went and they found Gaston. They made arrangements for Gaston to come and see them at her like wedding lunch, and she got pictures in her dress with Gaston and like the whole thing. It was very tailored toward her, and both of them are very big Disney fans, but it was very tailored. And she's like, I will never be able to replicate anything like that ever again. And they're like Disney Vacation Club members, like
Yeah.
they're down there all the time. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What is your favorite attraction on the whole property? Like when you think about all four, what's your favorite attraction?
Toy
Like
Story Mania. Toy Story Mania. I love
and
it.
I've never been to that. So
It's like
tell
you
me
go
about
into you partner up, it's you and someone else, and you go through and you're like you're in an arcade. So
it.
you're playing, you're like pulling this string to shoot these balls at the arcade games to see who can get, and as your cart's spinning around, it's fun. We always enjoy it and kind of have a competition, kind of keep a record of who's beat who. But
Mm-hmm.
if you send me to Hollywood Studios, that would be my favorite at that park.
Fair enough.
I mean, I've got favorites at all parks, so.
Well, my favorite is also at Hollywood Studios, and it's Tower of Terror.
Woo!
Yeah, I love that ride. It's so much fun. Now, I will tell you this. When we lived in Japan, Disney is there. It's called Disney Sea, and there's Disneyland and Disney Sea there. And when you go to Tower of Terror, I mean, if you've ever been there, you kind of go in, and it's supposed to be like the late 1920s, early 1930s in this abandoned hotel in Hollywood, and very
Reminds me of the
Twilight.
Bates. The
Yeah,
Bates
Twilight
Motel.
Zone. Yeah, that whole
Yeah.
thing. And okay, and there's like this whole narrative that you listen to as you're waiting in line. And it's this whole creepy story. Well, when we lived in Disney, we went on Tower of Terror there, and the whole thing is in Japanese. And you just have this surreal experience of knowing what the story is and listening to it told in another language. And totally, I mean, it's a surreal experience. You can't help but laugh at the absurdity of hearing this whole thing said in another language with the words, to say like wow in Japanese, you go sugoine. Sugoine is the word, right? And so you're hearing like the bellhops from California say sugoine. And it's very silly, and it puts you in quite a funny mood before you get on the actual ride. So that's probably my favorite ride out of all of them.
Now, I have
Now,
to tell you, I think
mhm,
Disney has come up with so much. And
mhm,
I mean, you have weddings. This is what I propose.
mhm.
We could have Disney childbirth and Disney funerals.
Disney funerals, yes,
I mean,
the happiest place on earth.
I think if they did that, it would
Uh-huh.
encompass everything.
You know what? I bet that there is a birthing center somewhere on that property. I know there certainly is one in Animal Kingdom for the animals.
Well, I mean, who
I
doesn't
don't
want
think
to,
it would be
who delivered your baby? Mickey Mouse? I mean,
Mickey
wouldn't that be
Mouse
great?
did. Yes. Yeah, you know what? They're gonna steal our idea from our podcast right now. They are.
Oh, I'm going to patent it right now. But listen, truly, Disney is such a great experience. The one thing you need to remember as you're leaving, grab that Mickey Mouse balloon. I always know
Uh-huh.
every time my daughter went, and still when she goes and she's an adult, we still get the Mickey Mouse balloon. It's just a great little
Aw.
reminder to see everybody walking to their cars with all their
Mhm.
Disney balloons.
Mhm.
That's a memory I have, a picture I have in my mind every time.
Aw, that's so sweet. Tell me what you miss at Disney because things do come and go. What
True, true.
what is it that you're like, "Man, I can't believe they got rid of that."
Well, over in Epcot, they had a Ellen DeGeneres ride, and it
Mhm.
was, energy. It was an
It was
energy ride.
energy, yeah, with
It
Ellen
wa
DeGeneres and Bill Nye the Science Guy. Yes,
it was the best nap ride ever.
it
Like,
was.
you rode in this thing for, like, 30, 45 minutes in the air
Mhm.
condition.
Mhm.
Perfect, and it included our favorite game, Jeopardy, so that was good.
Yes.
And that's gone, and
Mhm.
then,
And I
things
think,
change.
am I right? Guardians of the Galaxy is going into that
Mhm,
building.
mhm,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
now over in, Magic Kingdom, they're gonna be replacing Splash Mountain. They're gonna change the theme of it and include the Tiana princess.
Oh, Princess and the Frog.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I've heard about that rumor for quite some time. I know that it's recently been in the news, but I will say that uh, there are lots of there was lots of information about that ahead of time. I think
Oh,
that that
yeah.
was kind of always in the thing. Okay, here's the one that I miss, and I think that they replaced it with something great. I do think it's probably great. I haven't seen it yet. But when Hollywood Studios first opened, it was known as MGM Studios, and it was supposed to bring back like the heyday of the 1940s and 1950s and then the Hollywood sound studios with great musicals and all that other kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I miss the great movie
Right.
ride, which was like it was just so cool.
It
Um,
was, and
yeah.
another great ride to you're inside in the AC and resting, but yeah, it's sad it's gone. Now they do, like, a dessert and do special events there where you can get, like, they'll serve desserts, you get reservations, and you sit outside there, but I do know they're turning it into another ride.
Oh, the Chinese theater.
Mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
I thought it was now the Runaway Mickey
Yeah, it
ride,
might
isn't
be.
it? Yeah, they opened it already.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because I saw a few ride throughs on it, and they're using what I think is cool is they're using kind of the same technology as the Great Movie Ride. I think they may even be the same ride things that they used in the beginning,
Okay.
the trackless, right?
Right.
Trackless carts.
Mhm.
And but they've reprogrammed them completely to go with this Disney themed ride, which I have to say I give them credit for finally bringing Mickey Mouse to a ride because it didn't exist before this. And to think that Walt Disney World has been around this long and Disney and Mickey Mouse has not had a featured ride, it's kind of nice to see that it's
Yeah.
happened, you know.
Yeah.
So I, like I said, I agree with what they replaced it with, but I do feel a bit melancholy.
Yes,
Okay,
true.
let's get into some juicy bits. Tell me what you've heard about in the rumors department. And I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Think about the rumors that you've heard. This is the Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World podcast, and we're talking all things Disney for the traveler. We're just kind of going through the rumors that we've heard. So, what have you heard kind of in the wind about what may be coming or going in
I
Disney?
I've heard rumors that they're going to be doing away with fast passes or
Mm.
maybe redoing them in some way. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out. So that's
Mhm.
something that I've heard that I'm kind of interested to see how it goes because having those fast passes has always been great to hit those rides
Yeah.
that you really want to get.
I wonder if they're going to go in the same direction that they did with the new Star Wars thing, where you get kind of like a reservation time,
Mm,
where it's like
could,
instead of waiting in a line, you're waiting in a virtual line. So
possibly.
I wonder if they're kind of revamping the whole Fast Pass thing
Could
for
be.
that. Yeah, which could wind up making up for a far more pleasant experience.
Yes.
In all honesty, I heard, and I will say this, it makes me sad now that I know. I heard a few months ago that they were getting ready to install a really cool Mary Poppins feature, some sort of feature. I don't know if it was a stage show or a ride or a walkthrough or what it was going to be in the England Pavilion over at the World Showcase. And I heard that it got pulled. Just 2 weeks ago, I heard that. And Mary Poppins is my favorite. And I could never understand why it wasn't included in everything going on, because I mean, they have a Broadway show and they have so much going on. And it makes me sad to hear that it's been pulled. And I hope that that winds up on the plans of the future, because I think it will be totally worth it. Any other rumors that you've heard?
Not so much with the parks as much as like with the movies from Disney. Like I know they've pulled Mulan and they haven't given a new release date, so
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Yeah.
makes me sad because I really wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I went onto a website called DisneyTip.com, and they came up with several rumors that, like, myths or legends that are out there about Disney World. And I want you to tell me if you think that they're true or not.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay. The first one is that there is a stable of cats on the Disney property that take care of all the rodents in the parks when people leave. What do you think of that one?
I'm hoping it's true because that would be cool.
That just cats take over the park at night. It turns out that it's false, although there are cats that live on the property.
I mean, how would
They
they round them
don't,
up?
yeah, I just don't see a cat really caring very much. Okay, the next one is a one about the Magic Kingdom. Okay, there are former cast members who claim that a worker was killed while making the Jungle Cruise ride, which is now, no, not the Jungle Cruise ride, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and that ride has been haunted, and the guy's name is George. So do you think Haunted George really does kind of keep his spirit at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride?
I'm going to go with yes.
Well, if it can happen, I can see how it would, because there really was a guy named George and he really did die during the construction of that thing. So I'm going to go, all right, if spirits are out there, George is hanging out with the pirates. Okay, here's the next one. And this is more about the rumors like we talked before. These are both from Epcot. Okay, ready? That Coco, the movie about the Dia de los Muertos, that they are going to retheme the entire Mexico ride at the Mexico Pavilion for the movie Coco.
Yes.
Yeah, they say it's in the works, but nobody has seen anything actually physically happen. So I don't know. That may be in the Princess and the Frog department, where
Yeah.
we know it's coming, but we haven't seen it. Okay, the next one is that Figment, and if you've been on this ride, you know who Figment of your imagination is. It's this cute little dragon, right? That Figment is going to be no more.
I probably.
You think?
I think.
Okay, I'm going to say I think that Figment may wind up sticking around for longer because it's a cult favorite.
Okay.
I think, like, Disney purists are like, Figment is what Epcot Center is about. So I have a strange feeling that that may stay around them. The next one that I heard, I think, is actually could be very, very cool. And I could see why they would be reorganizing it like this. That the Indiana Jones stuff that's at Hollywood Studios
Mm-hmm.
is going to be moved to Animal Kingdom and be combined with the Dino USA area. What do you think of that?
I think it could. But Indiana Jones didn't hunt for dinosaurs.
Yeah, but he was an archaeologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
it
don't
could
know.
work. I think it could work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there would be more retheming than just moving his ride there, but
Yeah.
it could work.
Yeah.
I could see it. Okay. Um the next one, I have two more. Okay. The next one is that there is no apartment on Main Street for Walt Disney's family.
I think that's false.
You think there is one?
Maybe.
Okay. I know, I think we all know for a fact that there's one at Disneyland.
And I know
I
you can
haven't,
stay in Cindy's castle. There's rooms up there.
yes. I have a strange feeling that it was probably started and then stopped.
Mm.
That's my
Okay.
guess. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Ashes in the Haunted Mansion. That people who love this ride so much bring their loved ones' ashes and leave a little bit of them. So really, they are doing funerals at Disney.
You
Ashes
know,
at the Haunted Mansion.
I always joke with my kids that I want to be cremated and want my
Mhm.
ashes spread at Disney. However, that is illegal. You can't
Yeah,
do it. But it would not I would not be shocked if there were people doing it.
I'm sure a few people have done it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's
If
Auntie Smith right here.
Yep. If you're just joining us, this is Alex and Terri with the Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World podcast. We're so happy. We're talking about all things Disney and things we wish for Disney, things that we miss, things that we love. And as we round out our talk about Disney, Terri, tell me some of the things that you wish Disney would do. What are some of the, they could be features or resorts or, I mean, I know that you want a child birthing clinic and you want a funeral home.
Yes.
I 400% back you on those choices. Any other things that you would like to see Disney do?
I would like to see Disney get back to the cleaning aspect that they did when Walt Disney was alive.
Mm-hmm.
You would never, ever see trash. Ever. And of course, it is a society in which we live in. Some people are just not aware of picking up after themselves. However, you could always go to Disney and you would know it was spotless.
Yes.
Spotless.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that maybe amped up a little bit better. I do think they're doing a good job of revamping and adding new rides and providing, restaurants, counter service, sit-down restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
The thing for me a lot, though, is like at Epcot is when it is the Beer and Wine Festival,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really a good time for children to go around the world.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So maybe that needs to be like a separate, I don't know. Something for me that needs to change a little bit on that.
Yeah. I wonder if they shouldn't run that the way they run the not so scary Halloween party.
Oh, that's an idea.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. I can see that.
And I'm not taking that away from people. It's just sometimes I've seen altercations and arguments, and it's just not the place for it to happen with kids trying to get on rides and see the country. So
exactly. And they are trying to theme so much of that toward kids with, Frozen being over there. Yeah. Here's what I wish. that I would see. I have two things, and they're both surprise, surprise at World Showcase. I know that there's room for 8 more countries.
Okay.
So they're very clear that they could fit 8 more countries in there. So I would love to see more countries for sure.
Which
But I would,
countries?
oh gosh, okay. I think that there should be Poland.
Yes.
Um, I think that there should be Australia.
Yes.
I think that there should be either Chile or Brazil, because you could talk about Antarctica, because that's kind of the launching point for so much of the tourism that goes to Antarctica. So I think it would be very cool. Um, I also think that we should be talking about the Amazon rainforest, although we talk about that a little in the land. There are other countries that I think are
Yes.
totally worth it. There are certain countries that I don't think would be very good representatives at all, and one of them is Greece. I just don't understand how you can kind of fabricate that. I don't
Right.
see that as being a really great choice. And I think bringing in another a pavilion from Africa, maybe Egypt or North Africa, because you kind of have Animal Kingdom that covers so much of that. So
Right.
I do think that maybe there's other places to find that kind of feeling. And they do such a great job with like Nepal by the Kilimanjaro ride. I love
Mhm.
that area. I love that area.
Mount Everest.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So here's my wish. I would like to see a feature. I would like to see a ride with the Aristocats, the 3 little kittens. I don't understand why that's such an overlooked movie, because it's so good. And it's very sweet. And so I think the French Pavilion should have something to do with that, because there's enough Beauty and the Beast to go around for everybody.
Right.
So yeah, okay. The other one is, and I think this is a great technology opportunity for Disney. I think it would be really cool if in the Japan Pavilion they had some sort of live interface with the Disney parks that are there.
Okay.
And maybe like you can talk to somebody, or like help somebody practice their English, which they love, or learn a few words in Japanese, or see what's going on in that park, like some sort of live interface idea. I think it would be available to do there, and maybe kind of spread to the other parks around the world. I mean, like they
Yeah.
have the Alani Resort in Hawaii and all that other kind of stuff. So I think it would be very, very cool.
Cool.
So, I mean, those are all things that I definitely think about with Disney. I am so glad we had this talk today, because I think it really kind of showcases how Disney can be a great training ground for the traveler, and practicing all those manners and cleaning up after yourself and all of those kind of things, which is why I think Disney is very valuable to those people who think that it is a lot of fun to go there. And I do think it teaches a lot of patience and a lot of other travel skills that you definitely need. So with that, we're going to wrap up the big Disney 101 show. We hope you got a lot out of
Yay.
today, and we hope to see you at the happiest place on earth real soon.
The travel industry has taken quite a blow from several global issues, including the war in Ukraine, the climb out of the COVID-19 crisis, and inflation that makes it hard for people to get out into the world like they want to. At this point, leading experts are predicting that it's going to take up to 3 years for the travel industry to bounce back to full force. One way that you can help the travel industry is to like and subscribe to 10 microbloggers. Each time you do, you're telling all those travel industry experts that you are ready to enjoy everything that the world has to offer, and you can start with us.
That's right. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and even LinkedIn at Babcia and Yia Yia. That is Babcia and YIA. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us at babciaandyaya@gmail.com with your questions, suggestions, favorite travel tips, products, and travel trends so that we can share your ideas in the future.
Babcia and Yia Yia is our home base for everything we love about travel. It's where our blog and show notes live and where we share access to all of our resources, including travel literacy for kids. We always have new posts about all the things we love about travel, including today's topics, as well as featured destinations, travel lifestyle, and stories to make you smile.
Didn't get all of that? No worries. Just check out our show notes for all of the ways to stay in touch and links to anything we chatted about in this episode. As always, thanks for joining us for our journey.